it's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. And so it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We welcome you to hour number 3, our third and final live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. One more hour to go on this Friday to set the stage for a monumental weekend in college basketball. We will break down every conference tournament. We'll talk about a lot of great games in store on this Friday, including at the high major level. Because DRS, this is our final time speaking to the people before we know what the bracket will be like for the big dance. Of course, Selection Sunday, now just 2 days away. 6 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday evening. SportsGrid's Bracket Central Selection Show will also be on Sunday. Donnie and I will be live in studio in person together on Monday morning to make sense of the madness, help you fill out your bracket, and of course, have some best bets for the round of 64. But before we get there, everything at stake this weekend. Tournament titles, seed lines, spots on the right side of the bubble for the NCAA tournament. That our main discussion point here in hour number 3.
We'll see that energy level on Monday morning when your boys got to get up at 4 a.m. and then drive over an hour and a half in the studio. We'll see how high that energy could possibly be at that point. But having said that, it is exciting times. I'm waiting for do we have anger and outrage? Like, we have it typically in the NCAA, men's college football brackets where somebody isn't up there, or even when it's only the top 4, the top 5 and 6 get left out, we get angry. Who's that team we're getting angry with? It's just a lightning rod on UNC. Like, if UNC loses, it'll be intriguing to see what happens, because they win, they're probably in regardless of, flag playing or not today. But is there anybody out there that we get angry? Because typically for me, it's, man, how did these teams with below average records and high majors get in over said, let's just say mid-major that got upset in his championship game? But do we have a team picked out yet? I don't feel like we do, though.
Donnie, it's a great question. Not as of this moment. The bubble looks relatively soft, really, on either side. The teams that are in, even those earning the Final Four buys. This is why NCAA tournament expansion makes zero sense. It de-incentivizes even playing a regular season. And those on the outside, also not the most stellar resumes. So right now, no issue. Sunday, of course, there will be some snubs and there will be some bubbles burst that people are not pleased with. I think North Carolina is going to be that team that moves the needle, especially if they lose tonight and for some reason they get in. Now, I think if they lose tonight, the selection committee will not have them in to the big dance. But if UNC wins tonight in a close game against Duke without Cooper Flagg and Malik Brown, that's going to make some very compelling theater. It would be just win number 2 in quad 1 for UNC. I think the Tar Heels could be a team that makes some people mad. I think Xavier, one way or the other, only a single quad 1 win could make some people mad or not. And then you would look at a couple of the mid-majors. But in the Mountain West Conference that we know is one of the best leagues across the country in college basketball. Teams playing on semifinal Friday night in Sin City. Boise State, Colorado State. Are they going to be on the right side of the bubble come Sunday? A couple in the A-10. VCU, the favorite to win the tournament. If there were to be a bid stealer, what does that do to the Rams? How about Dayton? Can they play their way in? And I think there will be some conjecture, DRS, around the SEC that is slated right now maybe to get 14 teams with the resurgence of Texas. The all-time record, the Big East, the old Big East, back in 2011. They got 11 teams in to the NCAA tournament. The SEC should shatter that, at least 13, and maybe now even 14. That could piss some people off come Selection Sunday.
Yes, but also understand this. Right as rain, what's going to happen? Man, how did that team get in the tournament? I can't believe they got in. Wait a second, that team's in the Elite Eight now? What happened here? Why did they win 45 straight games at this point? That always happens where that team that doesn't feel like, I think it was like UCLA. Why did they get in only to go from like the first 4 to like the final 4 basically at that point? So it's fun to watch you play out where the disrespected teams where you don't think should have got in, all of a sudden they're knocking off top level teams along the pathway. So those things work both directions, but we'll have some fun and arguments, of course, but mainly we might looking at maybe the soft bubble teams, as you said at this point, or how the heck did this actual bracket in the Midwest turn out to be this way and how easy it is for the East? Oh, they always protect the Duke Blue Devils. So we'll get those same talking points, absolutely.
And it's not just the teams that get in, it's the seed line. Oh, we were snubbed. Yeah. We should have been a 4 seed, and we're on the 7 line.
That's not a true 6.
Yeah, of course. And then, but that gets to the point where you see teams streaking at this moment. Yeah. Like Illinois might be the most dangerous 6 seed you will see in the NCAA tournament if they play at this high caliber. Of course, there will be teams like UConn, Gonzaga, heck, maybe even preseason number 1 Kansas. That could be a dangerous foe early in that opening weekend. Donnie, an advocate for the little guy. You know I am as well. Just pay attention on this glorious Friday night of college basketball to some Big West semifinal action. UC San Diego should be in, even if they were to lose at any point. That's my team that I am stumping for. But even UC Irvine, 2 bid Big West. Now that would be something. The Anteaters, 27-5. They take on Cal Poly today. UC San Diego in a really good one in the first game of 2 in Las Vegas earlier in the night against the Gauchos of UC Santa Barbara. All right, DRS.
Great names.
We'll get back to college. What? Great names.
Great nicknames.
Big West competition.
West Coast, man.
The Tritons of UC San Diego, top 40 team in KenPom. Eric Olin deserves National Coach of the Year consideration. We'll get back to college basketball. We'll continue to break down the slates. We'll give you some winners and picks here in just a moment. But we start off every third and final hour by hearing from the people. College basketball is front and center. There is no debating that. But how much NBA is everybody watching? We know DRS not all that pleased with the association right now. How about the people? Time for Fade the Public. At SportsGrid on Twitter, wanted to hear from the people out there. How much of the NBA are you watching during March Madness? And that includes conference tournament week at this current time. Your 4 options, the same as usual, more than usual, less than usual, none at all. And Donnie, I don't think you'll be fading the public. None at all. 69.9. Nice percent. Nearly 70% of the vote saying, we don't care about the NBA right now.
We really don't, but it's a product of the environment. Like if you remove hockey, more of a niche sport, right? People like that. They'll watch it all the way through. That's what they do, and that's fine if you enjoy that. But is there more of a wasted regular season in professional sports that diminishes on a year-to-year basis? Like, remember the arguments in college football? Right. Oh, if you had an extra playoff team or two, nobody cares about the regular season, only to have monster ratings all the way through because every game meant everything every week of the year. How stupid that argument actually was. But honestly, for the NBA, which I joked about it a couple times this week, if the NBA just took like a 3-week hiatus, would anybody even recognize or care at this point? And by the way, the NBA players would probably love it too. Like, hey, man, let me watch my alma mater out there play basketball, fly around to these games, relax, and then we'll get back to business once the tournament is over. Like 69%, they're close to 70% of the votes coming on none at all because they don't give us any reason to watch. And this is coming off of the game where we had OKC and the Boston Celtics play, which was a great game. And then you look at tonight where every game on the schedule, we're not talking about, Ben, the final 2 to 3 games. Like, yes, they're tanking. They don't want to play their injury-ridden superstars. They want to get them healthy for next year. Like, we're in tankathon with like 20 games left in the season where the product is abysmal. There's a couple good teams, and everybody else on a night-to-night basis, we have no idea who's in the starting lineup. Not because they're not healthy, because of the strategic impact of back-to-backs and just bad teams looking to get ping-pong balls. I agree. 70% of the public, you're right. I don't want to watch any of the NBA until this is over. Playoffs, different story. We love it. Regular season, horrendous in the NBA.
The drama just does not compare at this time of year. I think that's pretty frank to say. I voted for same as usual, which is also none. We'll continue to talk the NBA and college hoops next.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. And so it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
And even if at times we're not watching the NBA as thoroughly, we can still handicap and preview it for you here with your two premier NBA handicappers. Heck, if Mark Zinno can come on the show for 2 straight half an hours, 2 consecutive weeks and not watch a Super Bowl, we can talk about a few key NBA games you should keep an eye on tonight, even with a wager down, including the best team in the NBA right now. The hottest team in the NBA, once again, that would be the Cleveland Cavaliers. 2-point road favorite tonight in Memphis. Good one against the Grizzlies. Of course, you see Sweet 16 in that March theme. That wouldn't be the Cavs surviving and advancing. That would be the Cavaliers in terms of consecutive wins, looking for their 16th win in a row tonight in Memphis. But a short number. Do the Cavaliers extend the win streak in the Grind City?
And also that total, 248.5, the opening number, crashing down a bit to 243.5 live, down even a little bit from the graphic that we had posted up. But also understand this, the Cavaliers came into this game in New Jersey at the FanDuel Sportsbook game minus 4.5-point favorite. It's now down to 2. Some outlets even as low as 1.5. Why? Donovan Mitchell not anticipated to play, and you're going to face a good team in the Grizzlies that's healthy and at home. Even though it's a heavy public favorite on the Cavaliers, that line is crashing. I'm going Memphis Grizzlies tonight to stop the streak against the Cavaliers and win. Line makes sense, some injuries, and sooner than later, you got to lose a basketball game. And tonight, I think the Cavs lose that basketball game. Give me the 2 points.
The Cavs have only been booked as a single-digit favorite 6 times in this 15-game win streak. They are 3-3 against the spread. Cleveland could not stop playing overs. They've played 4 consecutive unders, but Memphis certainly plays at a pace that can add up some points tonight. Important game also for the Grizzlies, 42-24. Right now, the 2 spot in the Western Conference standings, but identical record to that of the Denver Nuggets, who should win at home tonight as well. 14-point home favorite at altitude against Luka Doncic and the LA Lakers. Luka scored 45 points last night, made 7 threes, had 11 boards, and the Lakers still lost by 20 on the road in Milwaukee. Donnie, I'm not sure I see this game being all that close and competitive. What would you do with a 14-point spread?
I probably would lay the 14 points in this point, because I was talking about yesterday, like, hey, maybe the Lakers be competitive. And as we said, you're getting almost 50 points out of Luka Doncic, and you got blasted by 20 points. Now you're going to play a back-to-back road game on a waiting team in elevation. So if I am the Lakers, sometimes you got to be smart. Hey, Luka, you're going to sit this one out. There's a low chance we win it with you in it, and the last thing we want you to do is play on a back-to-back and somehow get even more tired at this point in a losing effort. I do think this is a big chance for the Nuggets to say, all right, this should be a free victory. We'll take it. And I would expect, if you don't lay the 14 points, surprising to me if the Lakers would be within, let's just say, double digits at the break. I don't anticipate this as, the Lakers were tied at the half and just fell off in the second half. I don't know if Luka's going to play, even though he's anticipated in that starting lineup tonight. But if there's one night where the Nuggets should beat the Lakers and beat them badly, tonight's the perfect setup for that shot.
Nikola Jokic minus 125 to record a triple-double. He might do that in the opening quarter, given what the lineup could look like tonight for L.A. 10-game NBA slate on this Friday if you want to mix in a few games around the association with the greatness that we will see in college basketball. And that is magnified, DRS, during semifinal Friday, especially in prime time. In 3 of our 5 high major leagues, we are on to the semifinals, which means only 2 matchups. So maybe not the full day slate that started in the afternoon, but in that prime time hour, oh boy, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, as good as you will see. We start in the ACC. Duke in North Carolina for a 3rd time this year. I was going to be fascinated by what this spread opened up as, knowing what is at stake for Carolina, in desperate need of another quad 1 victory, and knowing more than likely that Cooper Flagg is not playing tonight for the Blue Devils. And then hoping, DRS, with so much talent still for Duke, the line at 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, I could back the Blue Devils. Line open at 8.5, working its way in favor of the Heels. Now just a 7.5-point spread in favor of Duke. That total 154.5. Assuming more than likely we do not see Cooper Flagg tonight, how do you break down the first ACC semifinal this evening in Charlotte?
And if you're not doing your homework, right, and you just go, I just go to Ken Palm and look at the final scores because he has all the numbers in the computer, I trust that. He has it at 84-70. Wow, look at that disparity. They don't take into effect injuries here. So his computer is still telling him Cooper Flagg is playing tonight and not removing him from the equation. That is going to be key. But Los, I'm going to get back to this game in a second. You know I like to do this, Ben. And it is a Friday, so usually, the kid glove treatment is off because kids don't have school the next day. 7 o'clock and a 9:30 start. You know what that means. Game number 1 is going to run a little bit long. That second game is going to tip at 9:40. Why are we doing? Honestly, Why are we doing this? Like, we can play basketball all week long during the day. It's fantastic. You watch it play out. I'm not asking you to play Duke in North Carolina at noon today on a Friday, but why aren't we playing this game at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock? You're telling me that, oh, well, nobody's going to be. What, are you kidding me? People take off down there in the ACC between Duke and Carolina just for the ACC tournament every single year. The fans will be in the building. It'll be stacked to the gills. Everybody can watch, which means we can enjoy the second game as well. We don't have to wait till midnight for an ACC East Coast game to get over. Now, getting back to that game, I'm feeling Duke today. I am. Like, I just think it's one of those where the Duke second-hand players, which is a shame you can call them that because they're tremendous even without Cooper Flagg, rising to the occasion. Loved what I saw yesterday. It is the ultimate rivalry and the chance that Carolina's capitalized over the past couple of years. Oh, Duke's got a big moment. Let's ruin that big moment. No bigger moment to ruin for North Carolina than beat them without Cooper Flagg and wave them off the court saying, enjoy the NIT at this point. I'm feeling Duke today, and that line is strong out here at 7.5. Give me the Duke Blue Devils by 10 points. It's almost sounds like it shouldn't be happening, but my goodness, I'm still going to take it.
You're going to get me to buy in, DRS, because earlier before the weekend got started in the regular season finale in Chapel Hill, I thought the odds makers were laying an interesting line on Carolina to make the big dance, minus 114 on either side, despite the fact UNC was a double-digit home dog against Duke. Now, of course, the window of opportunity is there for UNC with no Cooper Flagg playing, but I'm still hoping that ticket comes through. We'll talk more about ACC semifinals and Big East semis next.
Play a little game of true or false, fantasy or reality is what we used to call it. But instead, we're going to play a little game of buy or sell. Rafael Devers had a press conference and basically said, I ain't moving off third base. I'm a third baseman. I won't play DH. I won't play anywhere else. Alex Bregman was just signed, so how's this going to work out? Buy or sell, George? Devers will start more games at third than Bregman this season. Is that a buy or sell?
Yeah, Devers is a horrific third baseman. All right, he's bad. I think he ranks dead last in the league here. I think Cora is going to talk with Devers. Apparently, they are close. He said, listen, you got to move, buddy. I'm sorry. You got to move. We're a better team with Bregman at third.
I think he's dug in here, man. I don't know. I know that there was a report a few days ago that they were talking about it and, sort of working things out. But I think in the end, cooler heads will prevail. But I don't know when that's going to be. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to say that Devers starts like 90 games at third base this season. And I think that'll probably be the compromise here. I think that Bregman will start some. Devers will start some. Bregman's still a Gold Glove third baseman at this stage of his career. It doesn't really add up. The other thing that happened is over the course of Big Papi's career, he moved off first base. He went to DH. And Big Papi was Devers, right? I mean, pretty similar in stature there. But Devers just seems to be really dug in on this. I think if it was going to happen, George, we would know by now. And it hasn't. We just heard that it may. So I am going to buy. I don't think Devers plays 150 at third base or even 140 or anything like that. But I do think he plays more than Bregman at third. I think that they have a compromise when they play both.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Duke in North Carolina tonight in a semifinal in the ACC tournament in Charlotte. Here are the stakes. Duke trying to win a tournament title after an outright ACC crown, their first under John Shire. Great. Duke also understanding they've got bigger fish to fry. They've got a much higher ceiling to try to reach. They're still a 7.5-point favorite against UNC, even without the services of Cooper Flagg. and kind of under the radar because of the notable and significant injury to flag Malik Brown, who has dealt with some injuries, was back healthy for Duke, provides a lot of veteran guidance in that front court. For UNC, DRS, win, and they might be in to the big dance. It is a golden opportunity. It was going to be difficult against a fully healthy Duke team to knock off the Blue Devils tonight, to garner that second quad one win. This is your time to do it. Yes, you are still a 7.5-point underdog, but if Carolina wants to go dancing, it's a must-win tonight in Charlotte.
And also, you are looking at those numbers up there and saying, this is correct. Like, you see the 7.5. Wait, without the best player, it's easy on Carolina. Let me go to the FanDuel Sportsbook here quickly and try to take a look at it, because I want to see, did we get a look at the overall betting statistics on each side as I slide it down to, all right, 7 o'clock statistics? You have 81% of the bets on the spread line here, North Carolina. 88% of the money on North Carolina. So you see Ben there on the screen doing the dance. I mean, again, just remove analytics out of the equation altogether. Best player on the best team goes down. Must-win situation for North Carolina. Most people waking up this morning, and maybe even myself included, well, I wonder what that spread would be. Is it a pick 'em? It's neutral court. It's not at Duke and Cameron at this point. You just saw them play, and yes, Duke won, but flag is always instrumental. You just figure like that pressure would sort of switch over to Duke, where they don't have their best player, and this should be closer. That 7.5 is such a strong line. You know what I'm interested in saying? This tip time tonight, Ben, is 7 o'clock. Where does that line open? Put it this way. For me, the way the betting is probably going to come in, there's no way this goes to 8.5, right? This can only go lower at this point. So if you are a Duke Blue Devils backer right now, I probably look at this line and go, I like Duke tonight. I'm not betting the 7.5. I can't see this line going to, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5 at this point. And by the way, if flag did play, what is this line, Ben? Neutral site. 11.5? Is that what it would be?
13.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were double. Duke was a 9.5-point favorite, 10.5-point favorite at times last Saturday in Cameron, or last Saturday in the Dean Dome in Chapel Hill. They were a 14-point favorite for the first matchup in Cameron. This would be double digits bare minimum, even understanding the stakes for UNC. And I thought Donnie's point about how Carolina had the ultimate trump card against Coach K. This game doesn't have the same sort of reference as that Final Four matchup 3 years ago. But Duke gets to play spoiler, which is funny, getting to play spoiler as a 7.5-point favorite. And yes, the dance is when you see 88% of public money. I mean, come on.
Like
Second ACC. I mean, come on now. ACC semifinal, the second one of the day. Clemson and Louisville, DRS. Basically a pick'em, total at 140 and a hook. If you're feeling good about value in Charlotte, this could be the spot you look to. Clemson, the only team to beat Duke in ACC action in the regular season. Louisville handed Clemson one of their 2 losses in conference play. How do you break down that matchup?
It's a tough one. It really is. And you see like the anticipation of this game, plus 1.5. So we're talking about a coin flip, and rightfully so. You look at both of these teams, efficiency on offense for Clemson in conference play, 3rd. Efficiency on offense for Louisville, 2nd. Louisville's defense in conference play efficiency, 2nd. Clemson's 3rd. So these two teams match up extremely well. Clemson doesn't get to the free throw line. Louisville doesn't foul. So right away, you take a look and say, okay, well, if your strength was Clemson getting to the free throw line, that's going to hurt them. It doesn't. When I look at the matchup here, it's going to come down to the 3-point line. You look at Louisville, love to launch the threes, even though the best 3-point shooter is probably, again, not going to play today. But you also look at Clemson's defense. They'll somewhat let you shoot the 3-point shot, but defend it well. I just like Clemson's pedigree overall. Over the course of the season, you look at their records, just about identical. But when I look at it in the ACC, I think Clemson's better than Louisville. On a neutral site, I'm going to trust Clemson in this game to get the job done and advance into the ACC championship game.
Both plus 340 right now because it is basically a pick'em for their individual semifinal matchup to claim that ACC tournament title, whatever that number would be.
Yep.
And let's just say this. If UNC pulls off the upset, Clemson or Louisville more than likely a slight favorite for Saturday night in Charlotte to win that ACC tourney title. We'll talk Big East semifinals, but we'll do it all through the scope of what we do here on Fridays on the Early Line. A college basketball conference tournament pick 6. Next.
Texas was showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Brant Nelson's staying out of foul trouble. Clifford Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the fourth number one seed.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
That is also value to be the best player on the best team. To me, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There is no doubt about it.
The Nuggets probably going to finish, what, second overall in the conference here, and it's not going to get him the MVP. We'll see how it is down the stretch, and I assume this is going to tighten up, but barring a huge drop-off for OKC as a team, not just SGA, you could probably pencil him in for 30 a night.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
So we have said a few times, normally you're used to a football Friday. For a good majority of the year on the Early Line, we set the stage for a football slate, college football, and of course a Sunday slate around the National Football League. And every football Friday here on TEL, we end with a pick six, some best bets for your NFL weekend. Well, let's do a conference tournament pick six in college basketball on a day we have dubbed a College Hoops Friday here on the Early Line. A winner for all 5 of the high major conference tournaments who ends up a tournament champ at the end of this weekend, and then one at a different level around the sport. Any of the mid-majors that will battle for a conference tourney title this weekend and that automatic bid to the big dance. DRS, let's start in the ACC quickly. You have a lot of belief in Duke. Why will the Blue Devils still end even without Cooper Flagg as a tournament title winner in Charlotte?
Trust that the odds makers are the smartest people in the room. You see the spread today, 7.5-point favorite for the Duke Blue Devils. They're supposed to win this game today and not really have all that much of a struggle. Now, granted, we'll see how it plays out. So let's just say Duke does win. Louisville and Clemson, 2 really good basketball teams on the opposite side. Duke wins this game against Carolina. Duke will again be favored in the ACC final. So that is the precipice on what I need to see out of the Duke Blue Devils. Just victories here, because I'm no longer paying that price tag of minus 360, minus 380. You're now down to an even price point of, let's just call it a minus 110 price in that spot, where I'm going to be the favorite in the next 2 basketball games, neutral court in North Carolina. I'll take my chances there. Could blow up in flames. It could go down because Carolina needs that game, and it's a rivalry, and you start to rely on your best players when the game gets really close against quality opponents late, and Cooper Flagg won't be there. I get it. But this team is too good and too strong, and also now has that chip on their shoulder. Like, oh, they think we can't beat them, even though coaches always play it up. You're the favorites there. Shire's not going to be like, hey, guys, should be an easy victory without, Flagg playing here. This is a big-time matchup today, but the odds are in my favor on the Duke Blue Devils, and I'll take them still to win the ACC.
And you're getting a discount. They were minus 340 because of their dominance in the ACC all year long to also win that tournament title in Charlotte. Now it's minus 110. But they only have 2 more games to go. And even without Cooper Flagg and the entire world betting on Carolina, Duke still remains a 7.5-point favorite. Donnie, I was still playing the value game before conference tournament started in Charlotte and before the Cooper Flag injury. Looking at the bottom of the bracket, I like the price on Louisville a little bit more than that of Clemson at a 7-1 price. So I still back the Cards. A good three-point shooting team who hoists a lot of threes and solid defensively, led by Chucky Hepburn. I believe in what Pat Kelsey has done in his opening year there for the Cards. And they pick them tonight against Clemson. I'm hoping Louisville wins, hoping that I can find that hedging opportunity for the tournament title game on Saturday. We've spent a lot of time in the ACC. Let's get to the Big 12. It's semifinal Friday as well in Kansas City. Donnie, who is your tournament champ when all is said and done tomorrow night?
Yeah, I was looking for a team to fade other than taking, let's just say, the Houston Cougars at a minus 130 price where they currently sit at now. Did I want to go even longer down the list with BYU can catch fire from three-point range? Yep, that's a fun team, 6-1 price. Arizona is talented at plus 550, but I want to stay true to my form here. When I came into this week, before the games even started, it was going to be Iowa State and it was going to be Texas Tech for me at dog prices, hopefully somebody to knock off the Houston squad. Now, for me, I'm still going to take Texas Tech. Plus 280 price. Give me that bonus back. Duke was a minus 110, so barely laying juice at this point. This one, I want a little bit more of a payback. Plus 280, legitimate chance to play good defense, knock down the three-point shot, maybe knock off the Houston Cougars here. I'll go with the underdog as opposed to the favorite in the Big 12.
Yeah, I'm going with the favorite in Houston, a team that just keeps continuing to win basketball games at a minus 130 price. I think BYU is a very compelling matchup. The Cougs are the third most efficient defense in the country, that being Houston. The Cougars of BYU love to shoot the three, and they make a lot of threes. In fact, they were 50% from deep yesterday in a highly offensive affair against Iowa State. And despite the fact that Houston is really good defensively, they'll let you take some threes. They don't often run you off the three-point line. I think BYU is a really compelling matchup for Kelvin Sampson's team. But I trust in Houston. I think they can win 2 games at a minus 130 price. I think it is there. I thought a healthy Iowa State team, had they knocked off BYU, snapping the Cougars' 8-game win streak, with both Tamin Lipsey and Keyshawn Gilbert in the fold, that might have been the tournament title game today against Houston. Iowa State, of course, not healthy yesterday, and BYU rallied in the second half. Really love this Texas Tech team as well, DRS, and I think that 2.5-point spread tonight against Arizona might be slightly discounted. Sure, Arizona beat Kansas last night. I'm not in love with this version of the Wildcats we have seen the last month and a half down the stretch run of Big 12 play. Let's move on from the Big 12 to the Big East. Semifinal Friday inside the world's most famous arena, the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. Who do you have winning the Big East tournament title with a wonderful Saturday night cap in MSG tomorrow?
The sentimental favorite, St. John's at home in the Garden, reigniting New York City as the basketball mecca, taking care of their business in their home arena, and still getting a plus money price at a plus 120 here. Understand this. Yeah. Connecticut's going to give them a run. Creighton would give them a run. Marquette would give them a run. I understand that. But when you look at St. John's, and again, I get a little bit nervous. First games, home court, so many expectations. They looked very good against Butler, played fantastic defense, jitters out of the way. That crowd now moving from a Thursday to a Friday night in the Garden will be sensational for St. John's, and I think they take care of business. Still at a plus money price. They're in the perfect setting and the perfect environment to handle their business. I'll take them.
It is a really great semifinal Friday inside Madison Square Garden. 4.5-point spread in favor of St. John's against Marquette. Marquette coming back from down by as many as 14 in the second half. I have a very, 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 very small little pizza money bet on Marquette to win the national championship at a 130-1 price. Just hoping that Shaka Smart's veteran team can make a run come the big dance because they have so many pieces that have been there before. Cam Jones, Stevie Mitchell, everybody that they have as a part of this team. And they're a team much like Maryland that does it with their starting 5. With that being said, DRS, they're not looking great right now. And I don't think they win tonight against St. John's. I do believe it is the Red Storm. But you want to see Marquette keep this game close.
Yeah.
Overtime thriller in Milwaukee to end the regular season just 6 days ago. That game had a total in the mid-140s, skied over. St. John's has been an under team because of how great they are defensively. That nightcap tonight in MSG, oh boy. UConn and Creighton. The Blue Jays tested. Frankly, they played a clunker last night as a double-digit favorite against DePaul. They're the underdog tonight against UConn. I can tell you what everybody in the Big East is hoping for. I can tell you what Fox is hoping for from a media perspective. Saturday night, Madison Square Garden, Big East tournament title game, St. John's and UConn. Now that would go crazy.
No, that would be perfect because that's two fan bases where you say, like, okay, second home as opposed to first home. That's St. John's home, but the second home, UConn, says that's our tournament. That's where we claim it here. That's where we bring our fans down. That would be an exciting environment, which everybody would love to see, and you would get an unbelievable competitive game, not only on the court, but the antics maybe of both coaches. Would you love to see that? Rick Pitino and Hurley on the sideline, and you know they're always going to focus 15 times a game at least on Big Dad Hurley sitting right behind the bench here. Wonder what's going through his mind as well. It is a match made in heaven. We need to see that happen, and it would be so much fun to see that game on a Saturday night come down to the final 2 minutes and let one of these players sort of sign their names into immortality into the Big East tournament, which we've seen so many times before. That's what we want to see.
St. John's sweeping UConn throughout the regular season. Both games even away from the Garden. But that electricity, man, really as good as you will find. UConn playing much better defense as of late. Still think we see some points tonight, over 139.5 against Creighton. We'll continue to do our pick six and our conference tournament title winners this weekend. Next on the Early Line on SportsGrid.
Play a little game of true or false, fantasy or reality is what we used to call it. But instead, we're going to play a little game of buy or sell. Rafael Devers had a press conference and basically said, I ain't moving off third base. I'm a third baseman. I won't play DH. I won't play anywhere else. Alex Bregman was just signed, so how's this going to work out? Buy or sell, George? Devers will start more games at third than Bregman this season. Is that a buy or sell?
Yeah, Devers is a horrific third baseman. All right, he's bad. I think he ranks dead last in the league here. I think Cora is going to talk with Devers. Apparently, they are close. He said, listen, you got to move, buddy. I'm sorry. You got to move. We're a better team with Bregman at third.
I think he's dug in here, man. I don't know. I know that there was a report a few days ago that they were talking about it and, sort of working things out. But I think in the end, cooler heads will prevail. But I don't know when that's going to be. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to say that Devers starts like 90 games at third base this season. And I think that'll probably be the compromise here. I think that Bregman will start some. Devers will start some. Bregman's still a Gold Glove third baseman at this stage of his career. It doesn't really add up. The other thing that happened is over the course of Big Papi's career, he moved off first base. He went to DH. And Big Papi was Devers, right? I mean, pretty similar in stature there. But Devers just seems to be really dug in on this. I think if it was going to happen, George, we would know by now. And it hasn't. We just heard that it may. So I am going to buy. I don't think Devers plays 150 at third base or even 140 or anything like that. But I do think he plays more than Bregman at third. I think that they have a compromise when they play both.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
We continue our conference tournament pick six, picking the winners of each of the 5 high major conference tournaments this weekend. We have gone through our first 3. Donnie in the ACC likes Duke. I like Louisville. In the Big 12, he goes with Texas Tech. I'll take the favorite in Houston. We are aligned in the Big East. St. John's to storm through the Garden and claim a tournament title after an outright conference regular season crown as well. And in the Big Ten, DRS, both you and me aligned once again with some value on the Purdue Boilermakers. Big matchup for the Boilers in quarterfinal Friday in Indianapolis. They're a 2.5-point favorite now against Michigan, despite being the lower seed. As that 6th spot, Michigan has lost 3 straight, entering postseason play, and is seen as the underdog there. Of course, it starts tonight, DRS. So what do you like in this matchup between Purdue against the Maize and Blue?
Yeah, I think Purdue has the advantage from the three-point line and also some of the other things coming into it, which I've said. You're taking a look at Purdue, already played, got a win out of the way, a close win at the end, hard-fought USC game, and now a team against Michigan, which I have a lot of doubts with already, coming in cold here. Typically looking to launch three-point shots against a team that might defend it a little bit better than what you have, and also, and again, playing in that building already. As we look at some of the price points as they move all the way down, like Michigan State, I think we can agree, probably the best overall team in the Big Ten and priced that way, but they don't play a brand of basketball where they're going to destroy you. They'll play good defense, not turn the basketball over, make shots when they need to, and not be overly reliant on a three-point shot. That's a great recipe for success. However, when I'm looking for my Big Ten champion, sometimes you got to go out of the box a little bit, and the price points always matter. It's a lot different if you ask Ben and me this question, hey, just pick the winner, no price point associated. Of course, everybody's rolling Michigan State because they are the best team. But a 5-to-1 price, I can't pass that up because the matchups make sense. But understand this, it was really close. There's 2 5-to-1 price points right now sitting out there in the Big Ten. It's Illinois. Like, we're going to blame the Duke Blue Devils for the Fighting Illini going on a run because how bad they were smashed on a neutral site in Madison Square Garden and then got the wake-up call because that's a fun team. But also understand this. The couple teams that they played, I think it was 4 straight victories, 3 to end the regular season and 1 already in the Big Ten. Not those opponents that are grimy with ultra-talented. They're going to get a true test today, and you'll find out a lot about that Illini squad. But for me, Purdue just made sense. A 5-to-1 point here. Great guard play. You know, a player of the year type candidate already on your team as well. That's the team I'm looking forward to. Ultra efficient on offense and played already. There's a chance that Purdue can take it down. And at a 5-to-1 price point, Ben, I couldn't pass that up for this.
DRS, I think we told everybody when we were previewing the Big Ten tournament to look at the bottom half of the bracket. Michigan State deservedly booked as a favorite and still not seen as such an overwhelming favorite because of that style of basketball. What happens if they go cold from the floor one night? They've answered that question time and again. They're just a really stout basketball team through and through, but because you could find some value bottom half of the bracket. In 2 teams that entered at a 7-1 price, now at a 5-to-1 number, Illinois and Purdue. I bet Purdue early on at that plus 700 price. Could not fault you for looking at Illinois and doing the same. I like the Boilers, though, making some noise, at least getting to that conference championship game on Sunday. Big Ten tournament, final conference championship game right before the bracket is unveiled in the selection show. So from the Big Ten to the SEC, it is quarterfinal Friday in Nashville as well. The big dogs into the fold, all 4 of the top 4 seeds, Auburn, Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee. Donnie, who do you like today? Who do you like being there to cut down the nets on Sunday in Nashville?
I mean, awesome matchups here. And again, I'm so excited for that Kentucky-Alabama game because the 180 points that are expected in that game, so much from the breakdown, handicap, player props, points perspective, 3-point shots, it all happens there. But I'm going to do something which a team that I can't stand at one point, but I think makes some sense. Buying on the neutral court premises, buying on being a great defense, and being able to strangle the other team. That's Tennessee. And once again, price point is indicative because if we're just asking who's going to win it, everybody's taking Auburn. I'm taking the Tennessee Volunteers at a 5-to-1 price. I love the matchup they have today, which is going to catapult them into the weekend. And also, get your legs wet here today. Win this basketball game, play good defense, and sort of spring shot it forward. So I'm going to go Tennessee at a 5-to-1 price, even though I don't like them. I don't like the way they play basketball. But in this sort of concept, I think makes some sense. And the price point, for me, too hard to pass up. Put it this way. I love Alabama. I think they're fun. I think they win today. But that whole, I got to rely on really offense more than defense, which is why I went Tennessee at the 5-to-1 price over them. Even though I root for Alabama, give me Tennessee 5-to-1 price. Too much to pass up on that defense. I'll take it every day.
The Vols could, if they win today, will actually see Auburn in the semifinal matchup, assuming Auburn, as a 12.5-point favorite, does handle business against Ole Miss. You have the most efficient defense in college basketball. That is Rick Barnes and his Volunteers. It has been a staple of success forever. Tennessee in the postseason, in the NCAA tournament, different story. Donnie, there's a team I really believe in the SEC. And, of course, I think Auburn will be there at the end of the road. Love Alabama. We'll see about their defense in those most significant of games. But for me, it's Florida. I think Florida plays well today against Missouri. I would look to the over of that total in the low 160s. I bet Florida, as soon as the odds opened up for the SEC tournament, other portion away from Auburn and Tennessee, they would have to go through Alabama more than likely to get to that tournament title game. But I really, really love this Gators team. I think when all is said and done, I've got to bet on a bunch of teams to win a national championship. I do believe Florida will be that pick that I give out to win a national title. DRS, before you head into the money line, your other conference tournament title winner could be any of the other leagues we are seeing doing battle at this moment. Where do you look?
The Atlantic 10, St. Joseph's, Hawk Hill. The Hawk will never die. Why? I do think VCO is the best team in this division, but you're looking at a price point of a plus 750 number heading in to a team that absolutely can flame it from three-point range and play quality defense. I like where I'm going because I like the matchup today against Dayton, which means you can advance and play a team like VCU. So if you've ever noticed in a St. Joe game and you look in the corner where there is an animal bird going like this, a hawk, repeatedly all game long, did you know, Ben, that person that does this actually gets a scholarship for doing that. And also at the same time, if they stop their hands from moving, they are no longer allowed to be the mascot here. So all game long, constantly doing this in a corner, it's worth a scholarship. I'd take that job. How about it?
A man from regional Philadelphia, back in a team with the Big Five. St. Joe's to win the A-10. DRS, I'll see you in person on Monday. Have a great weekend.
Tired.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Gators' resume is excellent. We know how hard it is to win on the road in college. They've won at Auburn and at Bama.
Michigan State is 17-5 in quad one, quad twos. Are they a one seed? I think not. They may make claims if they make a run and there's craziness in the SEC.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They're also showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Grant Nelson's staying out of foul trouble. Clifford Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the fourth number one seed.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
We round out our conference tournament pick six on this College Hoops Friday on the early line on SportsGrid, because the next time that we speak to you after these 5.5 minutes are up will be on Monday morning, live in person in studio, myself and Donnie Rightside, along with a couple of special guests, including our coach, James Young, JY, after Selection Sunday for the men's and women's NCAA tournament. We'll talk some women's hoops in this final segment. So we need to make sure you are set and ready for everything. Semifinal, quarterfinal Friday, and of course a championship weekend ahead. All of the NCAA tourney implications, tournament titles at stakes, and of course spots in the big dance. Donnie's other outside of the 5 high major leagues in terms of a conference tournament winner in the A10. Looking at St. Joe's to knock off Dayton today. They're the opposite portion of the bracket, opposite of VCU, who was the slight minus money favorite to win said conference tournament before it starts. And the Rams could be an at-large team if there is a bid stealer, as Donnie might predict, but VCU really trying to handle business here in the Atlantic 10 in D.C. to make sure they punch their ticket to the big dance. My other in the MAC, John Gross in Akron. And then we talked to you about the Zips yesterday and how great they are offensively. And how do they go out early 11 a.m. Eastern time? Might they be a little bit slow and sleepy and sluggish? Nope. They go out and score 96, winning by 29 against Bowling Green, easily covering as a 12.5-point favorite and a total skying over. I believe in John Gross. He led Akron to the NCAA tournament a year ago. I believe in the Zips. Give me Akron to win the Mid-American Conference. They will take on the winner, assuming they hold serve today, and pick up a victory as well of a really good matchup today between Miami O, that would be Miami of Ohio, and Kent State. That's a great game. Kent State, second best price to win the MAC tournament, but Miami of Ohio, second best record in conference play with 14 wins. How about some other conferences around the country tonight? Mountain West basketball out in Las Vegas, semifinal Friday. New Mexico and Boise State, basically a pick'em. Colorado and Utah State, basically a pick'em. Those are going to be unreal. What we have seen right now out of this Boise State team trying to play its way to the right side of the bubble. Big victory yesterday in a low-scoring affair against San Diego State. They are hoping to do the same today against the Lobos. New Mexico slightly tested yesterday in their opener, but they do prevail with one of the best point guards in the country in Donovan Dent. I still would look at New Mexico winning this game, trying to improve that seed line. Can't wait to see where New Mexico is on that seed line come Sunday. Colorado State firmly in at this moment, but there is some wiggle room on that side of the bubble. Utah State will be a team going dancing. The Rams right now playing really good basketball. Nick Clifford, a name to know for CSU. A tournament team last year, they knocked out Virginia in first 4 action. Memphis still the favorites in the American. 9.5-point spread against Wichita State. We talked about VCU trying to handle business in the A10 tourney. 10.5-point favorite in the first game on quarterfinal Friday in the Atlantic 10 tournament against St. Bonaventure. No idea if Woj will be there later today. UC San Diego, a team that I have spoken about at length here on the show. Tritons, 10.5-point favorite against UCSB. That's UC Santa Barbara. UC San Diego, top seed in the Big West tourney. The 2 seed is UC Irvine, a 27-win basketball team, elite on the defensive end of the floor. Really good matchup against one of the fastest teams in the country in Cal Poly today. Keep an eye on that total. If the Anteaters are dominant, that's UC Irvine. Well, under 156.5, I do believe comes through. Late night tip, 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. Semifinals in CUSA. Liberty, the top team, 7.5-point favorite against Kennesaw State. Now, quickly, deep breath. Women's selection Sunday on Sunday night as well. Here are the title odds to know. Connecticut is the favorite at plus 290. But will UConn even be on the 1 line? We shall see. The Big East not nearly as stout as the SEC and the Big Ten. South Carolina won the SEC tournament. Should be on the 1 line. Big Ten knocked off, UCLA knocked off USC last Sunday in Indy. They should be on the 1 line, maybe the number 1 overall seed. In fact, those 4 teams right there after UConn might be your 1 seeds. We'll talk Monday to make sense of the madness. 8 a.m. Eastern.